What is up, good people of YouTube? And where you at? Figured I'd use a direct ripoff of a couple of great YouTubers until I can get my catchphrase down. So what I've been wanting to talk about and make a video about is President Trump's first 6 months in office or so. Been about 6 months, give or take. And what has President Trump done in the first 6 months? Well, not much. But this isn't uncommon. You know, any incoming president, they don't do a whole lot in the first months because, you know, one, there's a learning curve there. You can't, you know, you go into that job and it's not like you're coming from a job where you have a lot of experience as being the President of the United States, you know. It's not like you can, your resume includes, oh, I was the President of Venezuela or whatever, you know what I mean? So you get into office, once you get elected, and, you know, you take that office, and, you know, that first 6 months, it's like on-the-job training, you know, I would imagine. You know, they did, Congress got right after repealing and replacing Obamacare, which everybody knew nothing was going to happen there, because just everybody knew there was nothing, it wasn't going to work, because everybody knew it wasn't going to pass the Senate. It's basically pointless to work on that. I guess you could call that busy work for Congress, so that they can adjust, you know, justify their paychecks and all that. So that kind of stuff bothers me, because in the meantime, had they not been, you know, involved in trying to repeal or replace Obamacare, which isn't going to happen, although obviously it does need to be modified or whatever they want to do. I mean, here's the first thing is, you know, even President Obama didn't want Obamacare, the ACA. He didn't want that. When he ran for president the first time, his idea was to give the American people the opportunity to purchase the same health care coverage that federal employees have at the same low prices. That's what he wanted to do. That was his goal, which I thought, you know, I could buy into that. I could get on board with that, because socialized medicine, no matter how you look at it, it has good things and bad things to it. I mean, all you got to do is talk to somebody in a country that has socialized medicine. You know, I'm talking about a real country, you know, not a third world country, but you talk to people in Canada about how that works, and there's, you know, I suppose the good part is that everybody's getting health care, but my understanding is the bad part is that it can take a long time to get in to see a doctor and a specialist, which isn't really much different than what we're going through without socialized medicine. So, like I said, I don't know how I really feel about socialized medicine. But if we can do something to help the American people, you know, have better health care coverage that they can afford, I think that would be a good thing. I certainly don't like that Obama, what his idea was versus what Congress came up with. The Democrats came up with, you're going to buy this insurance, and if you don't buy this insurance, you're going to pay a fine. You know, nothing like shoving it right down our fucking throats or right up our ass, however you want to look at it. But that's how these Democrats are. You know, they're fucked up. I mean, they're still, to this day, they're still crying that Trump won the election. That's their big comeback, is to cry and piss and bitch and moan about it. And they're going to do everything they can possibly do to try to see that Trump fails in everything he does, which is a huge turnoff for me, not because they're doing that, but because I watched the Republican Party do that to Obama. And in the meantime, the government is not functioning the way it was designed to function, because members of Congress and the Senate and politicians are flat out not doing their job. The way government functions is we elect people to represent us and our viewpoints. You know, for instance, if I were to run for Congress and a reporter asked me, what are you going to do? I would be honest. I would tell them I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, I haven't talked to my constituents yet. I don't know what they want, because that's the job. Whether you agree with your constituents or not, your job is to listen to your constituents and represent their point of view and what they want. It doesn't matter what I want. It's what my people want. So that, I mean, that's a huge part of why our government's not functioning properly right now, because elected officials, they've got their own agenda. They could give a fuck less about their constituents. So it's really a shame, because I've watched, 8 years now of nothing getting done, and I feel like I'm about to watch another 8 years of nothing getting done. And there's things that really need to be addressed. Things that really, really need to be addressed. Checking my camera here to make sure we're still recording, because this camera sometimes pulls a loop on me and likes to stop right in the middle of a video, and then I end up yakking and none of it gets recorded. But where was I? The elected officials, they're not representing our viewpoints, they're representing their own interests, which is, in my opinion, I mean, that's like treason, I suppose you could say. And every one of them should be thrown out of office, because they're not representing what their people are asking for. They're representing themselves. I gotta grab my notes real quick. I'm gonna leave you briefly. I'll keep yakking. I gotta grab my notes. So Trump's first 6 months, that was kind of the title of this video. Trump's first 6 months in office. What has he done? He hasn't done a whole lot, and that's normal for any incoming president. Not a lot. They don't themselves get a lot done. We went down the Obamacare repeal and replace, which we knew that wasn't going to happen. Everybody knew that wasn't going to happen. Why they wasted 6 months' time trying to make that happen, I assume that was just busy work for Congress and the Senate. What I think they should have been focusing on, and can start focusing on now, although we have the North Korea thing happening, and that really needs to be taken care of. This is a long time coming. This leader, and what President Trump said the other day, and I know a lot of people are crying about what he said and how he said it and this and that and the other. Well, you can cry all you want, but the fact of the matter is, this has been a long time coming, and now this man is directly threatening the United States with nuclear weapons. So, that needs to be dealt with. That needs to be dealt with quickly, before we, start having mass casualties towards our citizens. I don't think that we'll end up using nuclear weapons in North Korea. I know that there's liberals out there who are taking offense to it, as they take offense to everything else, because they're, you got to understand, on the Democratic side and the liberal side, their only modus operandi is to make people believe that they are oppressed, and that otherwise they have, it's an empty party. They have nothing else. If racism isn't alive, if oppression isn't alive, after that the Democrats have nothing else. It's an empty party, you know. With the Republicans, you know, they're not perfect either, believe me, but at least, you know, in the face of losing the presidency, you know, they went back, they regrouped, they got Donald Trump, who they didn't want, which, you know, a lot of other people didn't want either. I wasn't a huge Trump supporter myself, but I'll tell you this about Trump, is it's nice, for me, it's nice to see our leader having some balls and not afraid to tell these people to kiss his ass. You know what I mean? And yeah, he makes some statements that are kind of off the wall and stuff like that, but you know what? Fuck him. You know? I watched Obama. As level-headed as he seemed to be, he had no balls. He wouldn't tell the reporters to kiss his ass. He wouldn't tell people, up your ass, you know? Dick Cheney, they came to Dick Cheney during the Iraq-Afghanistan thing, and they said, Mr. Cheney, 65% of Americans do not agree with the war in Iraq. And you know what Dick Cheney's response was? So? Because Dick Cheney's, his stance was this: you guys elected us to do this job, and now we're doing this job the best way we see fit. So we don't really care that 65% are opposed. You put us here. We're doing the best we can with what we have to work with. Were there lies told and stuff like that? Yeah, that's a whole different video, maybe a video series. But, you know, I'm happy to see some politicians with balls lately. I haven't seen that in over 8 years now. So that's a good thing for me. Anyway, what I would really like to see Congress, I would have liked to see them come right out of the gate with this, is to address the great divide between wages and the cost of living. Because, you know, 25 years ago, if you were making $50,000 or $60,000 a year, you were making a decent living. It wasn't glamorous, but you were comfortably paying your bills, and you know, hopefully had some leisure time as well. You know, time for maybe a 2-week vacation or something like that, and you know, time to yourself to enjoy your life a little bit. Well, here we are 25 years later, and I gotta check this camera again because I'm just afraid I'm gonna rattle on here and then it's not gonna get caught on camera, and then I'm not gonna post the video because I just get frustrated and I say fuck it. So it's still recording. But something needs to happen, and I know that the libs have said, oh, we want to, you know, we need to raise wages. You know, McDonald's, people flipping burgers, they should be making $15 an hour. Well, smart people know that if we raise wages, that's going to destroy the economy even further. Because guess who is going to take the brunt of those wages being raised? It's going to be us, because guess what? They're going to pass it right down to the customer. If I have to pay all my employees, I got to start going from $9 an hour to $15 an hour. Well, obviously, I'm going to have to bring my prices up in order to cover that. So raising wages, there's no way, shape, or form that raising wages works. Somehow or another, we need to find a way for the cost of living to come down in this country. Back in 2008, when the housing markets crashed, and you know, everybody was talking about, oh my God, look at how low the housing prices are. And I sat back and said to myself, I don't think they're that low. I think they're right about where they should be. And now here we are, 10 years later, almost, and housing prices are right back up, pretty much right back up where they were before. Yet the problem is that people are still making that $50,000 bill every year. People are still bringing in, an average middle class person is bringing home about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. Obviously, the cost of living has gone way past that. So, again, so we raise wages, now everybody makes $100,000 a year. Well, guess what's going to happen? Everything you purchase is going to go up just that much more, because it's all a big circle. It's, if I have to pay my real estate agents $100,000 a year versus the $50,000 I was paying them, well, now I have to make up for that. Or if in any industry, if I have to pay my employees $100,000 a year now versus the $50,000 a year I was paying them, that's all going to go on back onto the customer. So again, raising wages is certainly not the answer. Leveling out our economy somehow, and I don't know how this works. I really don't have the answer to this. In fact, I was talking to a liberal person yesterday who was saying that, well, we should tell these people that are in these corporations that are, making $2 billion salaries a year, that we're going to cut that salary and put it to good use elsewhere. Well, I don't agree with that at all. Because who am I to tell...
Ed sucks dick. Ed's an asshole. Ed sucks dick. Ed sucks dick. Ed's an asshole. Ed sucks dick.
Involved in talk then. Thou shalt not kill. But hear this. Fuck that shit.
Well, this video is starting over again, but it did save the first half. So I'm going to try to pick up where I left off here. And what I was saying that, I talked to a liberal the other day, and she said that we need to be able to tell these CEOs of these companies that are making, $2 billion a year as their salary, that we're going to cut their salaries and put it to good use elsewhere. I don't agree with that at all. That's a liberal point of view that I can't understand why it works for them. I can't understand why the liberals come up with that. And what I had said to this person was, okay, if you want to do that, so in that case what you're telling me is then it's okay for me to come to your house one day and say, you know what, I don't think that the $50,000 you're making a year, I think it's too much. I think you're making too much money. Even though knowing that, this person's barely getting by in life, I think that's too much money. So I'm going to take 50% of that away and put it to good use somewhere else. And you won't know what that good use is, because I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to take 50% of your income away based on the fact that I think you make too much money. That's not how things work in this country. We have a capitalistic system. And what that means is that, hey, everybody has an equal opportunity to go out there and do their thing. So, what do? How do you bring the cost of living down in line with, the wages? I don't really know. I think that that would have to be a voluntary type of thing, because I think that the prices of things and how expensive it is to buy everything these days is based on greed. And how do you go about telling people, hey, you're being too greedy? You know, and who are you to tell somebody that you think they're being too greedy? You know, what's to stop them from turning around and saying the same thing to you? Nonetheless, somehow or another, we need to bring the cost of living down in this country so that it meets the wages, so that everybody can have a good life. You know, there's things going on that I see. You know, the price of crude oil right now is like $55, $60 per barrel. Well, back in the early 2000s, late 1998, 99, the cost of crude oil was around the same price, yet I was paying 89 cents a gallon at the pump. You know, $1.15 on the high end, but there were stations around this area where I could pay 89, 99 cents a gallon. Well, we're back at $55 a gallon, $60 a barrel, I'm sorry, and yet our gas prices are $2.70, you know, close to $3 a gallon. Yet we're supposed to have all this new technology that was supposed to save us all kinds of money, and somehow apparently that didn't happen. And I don't think that it didn't happen. I think that, you know, everybody just knows that there's a certain amount of greed that's kind of expected. And that's where we're at. So I'm curious to see what you guys think down in the comments section about this kind of thing that I'm talking about, you know, how do we go from how do we get from where we are now to a place where our cost of living is lower, you know, and our wages would basically stay the same. You know, until the cost of living gets lower, the conversation about raising wages can't even begin. Because like I say, raising wages is just going to throw everything, it's going to make it worse, because everything's going to be inflated even more. So I guess inflation is really what I'm kind of talking about here. You know, again, the work of the government hasn't been doing their work in a very long time, and that's why I wear that rebel flag. I wear that rebel flag because I don't agree with how these politicians are conducting themselves. These politicians out there, especially Congress members, they're not working on they're not working off of what their constituents are asking for. They're working off what's in their own head, and they're trying to bring that to fruition. And that's just not the way it works, because you and I, we are the government, you know. That's another conversation I had before about people saying we need smaller government, we need smaller government. That's impossible, because you and I and every citizen in this country, we are a part of the government, so you can't make that government smaller. Now, the real thing is to get the government out of people's lives, because that's what we need. We need to keep. For me, I don't want the government having anything to do with my life. You know, my only actions with our government is going to be when I pay my taxes and when I vote. You know, not that I have a whole lot of faith that my vote even counts, but I do vote. But that's where we're at. You know, guys, it really is. And it's a sad state of affairs, but it's not something that's not fixable. And it's especially not something that President Trump couldn't fix. And I really believe that if somebody were to sit down and talk with him about what I'm talking about in this video, and then get all the eggheads together in the government and sit down and analyze this and figure out, you know, where did we go wrong and how do we reverse it? Because it used to be the cost of living would go up a certain amount every year, and wages would follow behind, you know. And now like I say, wages have pretty much stayed the same. An average family in the 1990s, you know, if you were, you know, a middle class family, you were bringing in, whether, you know, say it was just one spouse is working, your spouse was bringing in between $50,000 and $60,000 a year, and that was a decent living. You know, mom could work if she wanted, but in my opinion, the best thing for mom is to stay home and raise the kids the best she can. I think that's really important, you know, so that our kids aren't running wild. I think we've got a lot of kids that are running crazy in the streets because they don't have anybody to turn to, because mom and dad are both working their asses off. That's the other thing, is people are working their fucking asses off these days. I mean, a lot of the people that I know are working, they're putting in 80, 90-hour work weeks. Both mom and dad are putting in that kind of time. You know, who's raising the children while they're gone? Because even with them both working, they still can't afford childcare, you know. So, again, what has President Donald Trump accomplished in the first 6 months? And the answer, in my opinion, is not much. There's progress happening because, you know, he's got to go through a period where he's meeting leaders from around the world and getting his feet wet and trying to, you know, figure out where he stands with different personalities. I don't think he's done anything wrong. You know, I know the big fear in the gay community was that, oh, he's going to reverse gay marriage, and because he hates gays. And, you know, shortly after he was inaugurated, Donald Trump came out and said, hey, look, they asked him, they said, what are you going to do about the gay community and gay rights? And Donald Trump's answer was, as far as I'm concerned, that's already been decided. That's an old issue. It's been decided in the Supreme Court. It's done. So, nonetheless, the liberals, they keep bringing up things like it's like, oh, they're hoping things are just going to go as wrong as possible, and because that's their MO. Oppression, racism, all of that. That's the liberals' MO. They want you to feel oppressed. That's why when people are having problems, the liberals are the first ones to say, come here, come with us, we're going to help you, we're going to love you, we're going to take care of you, because this is the way the world should be. Where most people, we don't want the government involved in our lives whatsoever. We want to do our thing. It's a free country. We want to live our lives. We want to have a little piece of the American dream. And other than, you know, when we pay our taxes, we want the fucking government to just leave me alone. I certainly don't want the government in my bedroom. There's other things that go along with the LGBTQ whatever thing it is that I don't agree with. I just think people should just keep shit to themselves. Like the whole bathroom debate, you know, which bathroom I'm supposed to use, because you're a transgender, so which bathroom should you use? Well, you know, I guess whatever bathroom you use is your business. You know, I mean, if you're one of those guys out there that obviously, you know, even I would mistake you for a woman, and you use the woman's restroom, you know, I don't think anybody's going to know any different. But now if you're a fucking perv who just wants to get into the woman's bathroom, which there's a lot of those, you know, I would hope that we self-regulate that. You know, I would hope that when you're walking into Target and you see some fucking half-assed transgender, claims to be transgender, you know, half-assed dressed as a woman, but obviously a man, and obviously a man that's not interested in the things that he claims to be interested, going into the woman's bathroom, I have a problem with that, because I have daughters, and I don't want my daughters harassed, or even worse, you know. So as far as Trump is, what he's done this last 6 months, I'm happy. I don't have anything bad to say about the guy. I mean, yeah, he mouths off and stuff like that. Trump's an egotistical guy, you know. I mean, it's his personality. I've known a guy. A very good friend of mine reminds me very much of Donald Trump. He is absolutely ego motivated, and so I'm kind of used to this. I mean, Donald Trump, in my eyes, he doesn't really give a shit about being the President of the United States. What he really cares about is having the title. Having his name in lights, Donald J. Trump, President. There were some speeches he made where, you know, he said that he really does care about, you know, the American worker, the American middle class. And judging by his disposition when he said those things, I think that there is a part of him that is, you know, generally cares about people. And I think the most important part of that is that he's not on the liberal side of things where, oh my God, these people need to be taken care of, they need to be provided for. Because, you know, nobody gets to be provided for. You know, the people that I want to, if my taxes are going to provide for people, I am more than happy to provide for veterans who come back from wars and need help. I want those guys to be on the fast track to getting the help they need, you know, as quickly and the best help they can get. So, but people that just refuse to work because, you know, whether it's, I've heard this living in Detroit here, I have a lot of black friends, and I hear all the time, well, you know, it's a black thing. And I said, well, you know, every time, and I'm good friends with these people, and every time it comes up and they say, well, it's a black thing, I say, bullshit, it's a fucking lazy thing is what it is. But their mindset, you know, just as much as things were taught across the dinner table with me about black and white, the same thing was going on in their house. So, but I think the racial barrier is finally really starting to get broken down, as, you know, people are people, and white trash is white trash, and niggers are niggers, you know. Just kind of the way it is. So, Trump's first 6 months, I don't have any problems with what he's done so far, and I certainly don't have any problems with what he's trying to accomplish as far as the whole North Korea thing goes, because I think it's about goddamn time that somebody stepped up and said, fuck these guys, you know, and now they're issuing direct threats towards the United States, and we're not going to let that happen, because I don't think there's any country on earth that if a leader from another country was making direct threats towards them, that they would be in any other position than what we're in to say, fuck that, we're going to retaliate. You know, and I think that Kim Jong-un is maybe, probably, more than likely underestimated, you know, the power of the United States military. I think he's underestimated the fact that we have defense missiles, and that no matter what he shoots up in the air will be disintegrated before it's even close to hitting a target anywhere. It'll be blown up in the sky before it even re-enters the atmosphere. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's too bad that, you know, there's going to be collateral damage on both sides, really, but mainly there's going to be a lot of collateral damage in the North Korean area, and it is what it is. War's a son of a bitch, man. You know, but hey, when you got a fucking crazy leader, you know, what can you do? I mean, these people have no control over who their leader is going to be. Their leader is going to be Kim Jong-un, whether they like it or not. So I can't blame the North Korean people for what's going on, because they didn't elect this clown into office. You know, it just kind of is what it is. So, Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm really curious to see some of you guys, all of you guys, anybody who wants to comment. I read every single comment, and I'm curious to see what you guys think about things as far as Trump's first 6 months in office, and maybe you see something that you really don't like, and leave it down there in the comments. I'm always trying to understand what the other side's position is. I'm always trying to understand. I'm an independent. I try to pride myself on being a true independent, because I really do. My interest is to listen to both sides and listen to both the bad things on both sides and the good things on both sides. And I don't understand why we can't take some of the good things on both sides and put them together and put them to good use, because there's good ideas on both sides and there's really bad ideas on both sides. And I think our forefathers, their idea was for us to take the good with the bad and make something good happen in the end. So that's what I've been thinking about, and that's what this is the video I've been thinking about making. So I want to let you guys know, coming soon, what you can write off concerning gear, meaning guitar stuff. If you're playing in a band and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to do a video soon, kind of trying to explain, how you can write off your instruments, your amplifiers, your gear, clothing. There's a lot of things that you can write off, but you do need to meet some specific criteria, which isn't really hard to meet. I will say this: do not fuck with the IRS, because the IRS will relentlessly pursue you, and you will maybe start off owing the IRS, say, $3,000, and if you ignore them and basically tell them to get fucked, the next thing you'll know, you'll owe them $30,000, and then the next time you hear from them, it'll be $60,000 with fines and interest and everything else. Personally, I've never had any trouble with the IRS, but I've met people over the years in my time that have gone down some crazy roads because they thought, fuck it, I'll just ignore it and see where it goes, and it never leads anywhere good. They will pursue you until they get their money. So that video will be coming up soon, guys, and that's what I got for this video. So hope you guys enjoy, and hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Those of you who were in the live hangout where I was able to live stream some stuff from up the cottage, glad to have each and every one of you guys, and I really had a good time doing that. There's a hangout coming up this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's going to be with Bruce, the Suave Train Wreck, Elmo B, and some type of special guest. I do not have any clue who that's going to be. So that's going to be on Burt Cocaine's channel, so go check it out. You can go check out his video. Maybe I'll put a video up to that announcement in this video so that you guys can just click on that link and you can know how to get there and be there when you need to be. So, alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and looking forward to talking with you guys too soon and seeing the comments.